Today I'm going to be printing my first miniature on my longer 3D printer, which I'm super excited about. That's the main reason I had the resin was to start printing miniatures after I did my first miniature about a month back. If you guys want to check that video out, it is up. I will post in the link in the description below. So the first miniature I'm going to be doing on longer is this demon I found on Thingiverse that I thought looked pretty awesome. Just going to load it up. Look how great that looks. Let me zoom in a little bit. Look at the detail on this guy. So let's go ahead and get everything loaded up. So I'm not going to print this on the highest setting. I want to, because one thing, I'm impatient because the highest setting takes a really long time and I really want to start painting this. So I'm going to set it on the lowest because you can at least kind of see, guess on the lowest, because I do have a couple prints I've done on the highest, but this is my first miniature. And that video will be coming up soon. I'll show you guys all the prints I've done so far on it. Generates the supports right now. Beautiful. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and slice it and put it on lowest. It is sliced, and now we can save it. All right, folks, let's go and load this to the printer and see how it turns out. Let's go and start with removing the supports. Alright, now we'll take the X-Acto knife and do a little bit more detail cleaning. Get some of that extra off. Alright, let's sand this guy. Now I'm just rubbing this lightly. I'm not really putting any weight down. All I'm doing is just rubbing, and it sands pretty good without putting a lot of pressure, because my concern is snapping one of the pieces off the figure and losing the detail. Now I use my airbrush just like as a dust machine, just kind of make sure I'm working. Dust machine, that's a dumb word. Just to blow off the excess. I think we're looking pretty good with cleanup, and I'm going to go and put on a coat of primer. Now, I'm going to be using this right here, surface primer for airbrush. So what I like to do is dry it by just blowing air and then releasing another layer. Then dry it again and just go back and forth between drying a layer and adding a layer. Now we're going to go through and we're going to use the airbrush to go through and add like all like the primary stuff. So I'm going to hit all the rocky portion with like some grays and browns. And then I'm going to do just like a skin tone coat over him. And then from there we're going to go all to brushes. So let's go ahead and get on that. I'm going to add just a little skin tone, and then I'm going to do everything over that skin tone. I'll put a hint of gray and like a hint of green in this to give it the color I want it. And I started with tan. All right. Now from this point, we're gonna move on to all brushes. I want him to have like a bit of a like red skin, but not too red. So what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of the skin tone that I made with some red. Let's see. I think I start with this, and I go with a darker red and make it pop out. Let's see how this turns out. I'm gonna start adding a deeper red now. This isn't coming out the way I wanted it to, so time to do an undo. I kind of want a nice brown. I'm really indecisive with the direction I'm going with this miniature. I just can't think of where I want to go. Change it as I go. If I don't like it, change it back. And get a little bit of black in here. Now I'm just adding the black to kind of bring out some of the belt lines. Yeah, the black's actually making me help like this a little bit more because I was starting to get a little disappointed in it, to tell you the truth. I'm just dry brushing some of this on, just to try to simulate some difference in skin tone, because I couldn't think of another way to do it besides dry brushing. Alright, let's go from the back. Let's get that loincloth from the back as well. Ugh, I accidentally got some on the skull. A smaller brush. Trying to make it bottom of his feet just slightly, like, I don't know, darker, like dirtier. Maybe stretch through mud or something. And do with his eyes. Yeah, still didn't work. Trying to block out his mouth to just get the black at the bottom. There we go. I don't like how much it spread it up top. And here. Trying to get much closer to fix these eyes. Can get a dry brush, clean this up. Now I want to do something different with these horns. Slightly larger brush. I'm gonna go with some of this Citadel flesh color. See how I like that? I like it. It's just slightly different than the green, just slightly different color. Now his wrist, I'm gonna paint those black. And then make the spikes silver. Okay. So he only has one on one arm. All right, now I'm gonna be painting with a lead color for the blade. I think that'll look cooler than like grabbing some chrome or something. All right, let's look at the back of him. Now I'm gonna continue with the skin tone on the spikes. Like I said earlier, it's not that different from the color of his skin, just enough for it to stand out. Now I want these skulls to stand out as well, so, and I don't want them to look fresh and white, so I'm going to use the skin tone on the skulls as well. I'm going to fix a couple parts on his face I'm not too happy about. I want to get some of the green back on there. Touch up his cheeks. Okay. Now his stick here. I'm going to do copper. Now let's make our way to here, to the base. I'm going to use some of this Armageddon dust. I'm just dry brushing all the rocks to give it a little bit of texture.
Then I'm going to go over a few areas with the airbrush again. Alright, now we're going to wait for that to dry. I'm going to add the final touch. And then you'll see I'm going to be adding earth shade to the entire thing. I go a little crazy with this stuff because I love it so much. Like how it makes all the details and stuff pop on the figure. It's my jam. So whenever I paint anything, I paint, and if I'm gonna use this, I paint with the mind that I'm going to use it. So I can try to keep the colors fairly bright because I know this is gonna really bring them down a few shades. Alright folks, that's all for this one. I'm really happy with the results from the longer 3D printer. I believe everything came out great. Next time I'm going to crank the settings all the way up to the max just to see how much more detail I'll get out of a figure like this. It's really good with print miniatures. The only downside is if the miniature that's on a platform, it seems to warp it. I did 3 different prints and they all came out with this little warp. And it's only something with a platform. It's an odd thing that I haven't been able to fix yet. Have several other prints that don't have a platform that came out just fine. You would think the edges will warp up or something, but they haven't. So it's something I definitely need to dig into. But I'm going to continue to push this printer to the limit. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions on how I can fix this warpage right here. If you have any experience with miniatures, I'm going to continue to do my research and see what I can do to fix it. Other than that, guys, I'm really loving the resin printer so far. I really like the quality. I say you spend about the same amount of time in regards to cleanup. You just remove a step, I guess. Like there's a little bit less sanding and you don't have to use any type of smoothing product on it. But I feel like the cleanup time is roughly the same, removing supports and stuff like that. But the quality can't really be beat, especially on a small scale. All right, folks, that's all for this one. Please send your like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And I'll see you in the next one. Later.